I was sitting in the audience, and inside I was bouncing up and down, wishing he would use the word keto. In 2015, I had recently learned about the ketogenic diet and was desperate for answers of people who knew it better than me. There were no other practitioners using it, and I was alone in my learning. And that was dangerous. Dom D'Agostino held a conference where he bridged the scientists who were studying this diet in animals and in their research models with practitioners like me. I remember feeling so satisfied at that conference that it changed everything about the way I was treating patients. And that moment just happened again in December. This conference in December had continuing education points, which I need for my license. And as I entered the conference, I was grumbling about the price, and my expectations were low. Most conferences over the past 10 years give me very little to improve how I can help people be healthy, and give me a whole bunch about how to manage their diseases. This conference was blowing my mind. In fact, in one of the first lectures, the gentleman was talking about glycans and had stated that the Nobel Prize in Medicine had gone to this research 2 years prior, and then cited about 20 studies over the last decade that really transformed how we could reverse aging, the holy grail of anti-aging. I turned to the practitioner sitting next to me, who was an internist running a very successful concierge medicine in Miami, and asked him, "Do you understand any of this?" He laughed and said, "No. The framework to put this information on was not even in my mind." And the presenter provided some relief where he said, "If this is all new to you, you're in the right place. What will happen in the next 3 years of medicine will transform how we reverse disease and promote health like we've never seen in medicine before." And I believe it. The research isn't in animals. The research is in humans and how they're doing. The gentleman at the front of the stage was a physician, but he was working hand in hand with bench scientists, those who have been studying things like glycans and their effect on the anti-aging of humans. His stories from patients in real time were what motivated me to say, I want to use that with the people in front of me. This mind-blowing moment kept happening lecture after lecture. I was specifically influenced by one lecture from Dr. Ron Rothenberg, who's studying Incretins. You might know them as the GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic or Mounjaro. There's over 24 of them coming out in the next 2 years, and what they're seeing from the bench scientists is what motivates me. You probably know them as these weight loss drugs, but oh my goodness, are they so much more. His lecture covered the research that's come out in the last 12 to 15 months. And you, like me, might have assumed that all of these benefits are because they're losing weight, but there's so much beyond that. He was looking further into how our brain and our body and our heart and our pancreas are doing the anti-aging effect when these medications were being used. He used the word autophagy over and over again. And I talk about this a lot in the setting that we are taking out the trash from our bodies that has been neglected for years. Dr. Rothenberg was commenting how it's happening at such an accelerated rate inside the brain, inside the heart, and the problems that I thought there was no treatment for, he was seeing an improvement. But it wasn't in everybody. Dr. Rothenberg did a great job of reminding us how many places these incretins affect our body. The GI system, your brain, and then the endocrine system that seems to touch every cell in our body. He marked that the autophagy, or that replacement of trash, was happening at a cellular level at all of these different organs. And although the side effects of GI were really intense with the first generation, the ones coming out in the next few years have a much less side effect profile and a much higher profile for taking out the trash, for replacing the diseases and restoring health. This seems like a miracle. The most impressive stories were from those who had neurodegenerative diseases. These are things like multiple sclerosis, dementia, Parkinson's, ALS. Every time I see them, I grieve a little because I can't offer them much more than an advanced ketogenic diet. And as Dr. Rothenberg was translating what he sees on the front lines, I have hope for those patients. Not in 2 or 3 generations, but right now. Although I get motivated when I hear about helping that audience of people, the host of other disorders, including type 1 diabetes and polycystic ovarian disease, fertility problems, heart disease, heart failure, and other major advanced diseases of kidneys, brains, hearts, and blood vessels. Well, this is my whole practice. In fact, one patient kept coming to my mind. She has been struggling to lose weight for a long time. And although it was difficult for her to make her first ketone, because she has had 30 to 40 years of insulin resistance and being overweight, we worked and we did restore her metabolism to be stronger than it's been in decades. But the disease kept winning. As soon as a little temptation would get into her mind and she would fall off the wagon, she would take weeks to make a ketone. And yet she did it again and again. She returned back to the path of repairing her immune system, repairing her metabolism. But then she had a stroke, and the stroke has destroyed part of her brain. This is that button that I've seen over and over again, that when it gets pushed inside of those with advanced metabolic disease, there's not a lot I can do. Had I used one of the Incretins in this woman a month ago, 2 months ago, or even 6 months ago, I contend she wouldn't have had the stroke. We could have aborted this life that she's now living every day in a reality. This is what keeps me up at night. What that researcher was saying is, when they've had years of insulin resistance, it's going to be difficult to get the results we were seeing on screen. But if we can awaken their metabolism just enough to produce ketones and their standard glucose, we see a rocket ship of improvement with these medications. It wasn't just Dr. Rothenberg. As I listened to lecture after lecture, you could hear that there was a separation. Those who got the biggest benefit out of these medications had a metabolism that was restored, that was alive in the ketogenic lane. What they were missing is, as soon as we could get those cells to produce ketones, these medications worked so much better. When you see conferences like this transcend that the cellular mechanism is something I see and I can teach, and when I can use the levers like these incretins to reverse the diseases instead of just manage them, it gives me hope for patients. Several presenters remarked that even on the smallest doses, if their metabolism was alive, meaning if they'd been on the ketogenic diet, they were able to see other things reversed that I see on a strict and advanced ketogenic diet. In the research, they would notice that when the mitochondria was able to produce a higher energy output, specifically that from fatty acids or in the space of ketones, that the response was more robust. This is the same reason I push people to be on an advanced ketogenic diet. In that state of advanced ketosis, we do see reversal of problems that I never expected to be able to reverse in patients, like autoimmune disorders and these chronic neurologic problems. It's that the patient has such a difficult time staying in that lane, especially without an incretin. I'm guilty of telling people that GLP-1s are not something they should take. And in fact, it was because I heard nothing about the autophagy that is required if I want these patients to get better, to get on with their lives, back to health, not just stay in the disease management. And in fact, that's what the research is showing. Truly, they are sweeping out the trash faster than they're making it. And it is on a rocket ship if they start with a ketogenic diet. My patient who just suffered a stroke heard the words from me to not use that tool. It's cheating. But I regret that. She tried really hard. She was also fighting against 4 decades of behavior and of chemistry, and of built up trash in her body. I've written the prescription of lifestyle change to the patient for 20 plus years. And what it really communicated to the patient is that I'd given up, that their case was hopeless. I now will start with an advanced lesson in how to do a ketogenic diet, and then show them what happens when you add a hint of an incretin. I can't wait to see them reverse disease. Don't mishear me. The first step is to do the advanced ketogenic diet, not playtime, the real ketogenic diet that we teach on this channel. We have 2 ways you can learn that. One is an online class, and one is a real live class in person that we only do twice a year. If you want to learn more about that live class, click here. I'll see you inside.